What's up, everybody? Today, I want to talk to you about investing as an individual, and more importantly, what I think is a trade of our lifetime, Bitcoin. My name is Adam, and welcome to Adam Theory, where we talk about startups, investing, and current events, and quite honestly, anything else that comes to mind that I think is important to cover. I think I'd like to start by saying this isn't financial advice, and I'm just sharing my opinions after years of research. So by now, I think many of my friends and family that are closest to me are sick of hearing about me talking about Bitcoin. Especially because I can't stress enough how much I think everyone that I know that I care about should be invested in some form or another. That being said, I don't care if I annoy people close to me because I think it's too important to not speak up. This is a trade that's setting up to be something that can help us get ahead in life in a way that we might not have had an opportunity to do so at any other point in my lifetime. It's not often that you get a chance to invest in something that can change your financial outcomes in such a meaningful way in a very short amount of time. What do I mean by that? If you do it properly, I think that there's an opportunity for you to invest in Bitcoin and take something that might have been a 20, 30, 40 year time horizon into a 5, 10, 15 year time horizon. So what sparked this journey for me? Well, it's simple. I'm a millennial. I've been a part of 4 market crashes, starting with Black Monday, then followed with the dot-com bubble, the Great Recession of 2008 because of the housing market crisis, and finally, most recently, the crash of 2020 during the shutdown of not just the United States, but of the world. And all these crashes are the building blocks of what I consider the next financial revolution, which is Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. Again, I repeat, this is the trade setup of our lifetime. As millennials, I think it's important that people take a moment to stop and pause and reflect on this to see if they believe that this is also the case for them. I understand the value of a hard-earned dollar. My dad came over here from South Korea 40 years ago to start with nothing but the clothes on his back and a hope and a prayer. And so over the course of the last 40 years, he's built his American dream for our family. I understand what it takes to have a blue-collar job and make something for yourself dollar by dollar, day by day, hour by hour. But I'll be honest with you, in my mid-20s, I had a very, very bad understanding of what it meant in terms of value of a dollar and how to make that value go further. And in reality, I was just happy to see my savings account go up slowly but surely, paycheck to paycheck. But I had a realization, and I hope you do as well. And I want to start by asking you something. What if I told you that the dollars that you work for are continually losing value every day as we speak? Don't believe me? Take a look at this chart. This chart shows you the value of the dollar. The value of the dollar has decreased by 93%. 9-3. Now, I'm just an average person, but that sounds like a pretty rotten deal for an everyday American. It sounds like a pretty rotten dollar if you ask me. On top of that, our salaries don't keep up with the inflation and the loss of value of that dollar. And the value of our paychecks continue to drop every time we get paid. And you might be asking, how can this be? I think it's actually quite simple. We live in a debt-based system. And if we stop printing dollars, the system breaks. And I think 2020 was just the catalyst necessary to really step up the speed of that printing. Now, for some, I think they might understand what happened last year. But for others, I'm just going to throw it out there. In 2020 alone, the US printed 21% of all circulating dollars in the system today. A fifth of all US dollars was printed in 2020. That's phenomenal to think about. If you look at the chart, it's pretty much vertical. And how do you expect that the markets don't react with inflation? I don't care what anyone tells you, the market is inflating. The value of the dollar is going down. It might not look like it because of manipulation, but I promise you, your dollar does not go further. I don't know who owns that printing company, but I tell you what, if I could invest in them, I would, because that's job security. I also can assume that the printing isn't going to slow down anytime soon. And in reality, I bet it's going to go up even faster and faster and faster because they need to keep up with the system that's breaking, and the only way to do that is by printing more dollars. Now, the system didn't break all at once, and we all know that. No, this has been a diseased system that's been sick for a long, long time. And those 4 crashes that I just kind of talked about a little bit earlier are just part of the reasons why I think that we need to find a new solution to make sure that we aren't left holding the bag for everyone else's mistakes. Excuse me, the mistakes of the top 1%. So what's the solution? Well, it's to find an asset that isn't going to lose value every day like the US dollar is, like dollars that are in our bank account. I think it's everyone's responsibility to find an alternative way to grow and protect their wealth. I already hinted at the beginning that I'm going to talk to you about Bitcoin, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about why I think it's one of the most beautiful assets that's ever been designed, and why I think we have a very, very historic opportunity to be a part of something that sets wealth creation not just for you, but for your kids and for your kids' kids for many, many years to come. But before we start, I want to ask you one simple question. What do you think gives value to the US dollar today? The US dollar is a form of fiat money. It's fiat currency. And fiat money is based on the full trust and full faith of the government that issues the currency to back it and maintain its value. While I can't speak to the stability of the US dollar in the future, I do know it's slightly unsettling to me to know that it's based on two simple words: faith and trust. And as far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen anything by the government done by either side of the aisle that builds any trust or faith, in my opinion, for anything done in the last 30 years since I've been alive. In fact, they're in the business of making sure everything stays the same. And if not anything else, better for them. So let those two words sink in. The US dollar is based on the faith and trust of the US government to back it. And why is that important to understand? Because since the year 1250, every previous global reserve currency has eventually gone to not be the global reserve currency. And on average, those global reserve currencies last about 100 years. And as far as I know, the US's standing as the global reserve currency is coming up on year 99. So if history repeats itself, we don't have much time left before the US dollar isn't the global reserve currency any longer. And let's take a quick look at the history charts of all the previous global reserve currencies that we've ever had and the eventual fates of those currencies. And you can see here, every previous global reserve currency has come and gone, and it's only a matter of time before the same can be said for the dollar. I've rambled on long enough. Now let me lay out the reasons why I think everyone should look into investing into Bitcoin. The number one reason is scarcity. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins ever mined by the year 2140. No more, no less. And in reality, it's actually a supply much smaller than that because there are Bitcoins out there that are lost forever. And so it is an extremely finite resource. 21 million Bitcoin for the 8 billion people on this earth. Think about that. There's not enough Bitcoin for everyone to have at least one Bitcoin. That's crazy to think about. And right now, as we speak, there are corporate investors, institutional investors, countries, banks, billionaires, millionaires, random people such as myself and others that believe in this asset and are quietly purchasing as much Bitcoin as they can before the next phase of the bull market is over. Many experts believe that the current range of $50,000 to $60,000 will most likely be the next bear market low or very close to it. And so piling in here means the risk to the downside for those larger institutions is pretty marginal. And when compared to the opportunity to the upside, which is 5, 10, 15, 20, 100x, you can see why they are so excited to get in before everyone else understands the value of it. And please, please, please don't let mainstream media fool you. They want clickbait titles. They want to scare you. They want to excite you. These organizations understand that Bitcoin is the future, but they also understand that they need to control the narrative so they can do what they need to do before they unleash it on the masses. So they don't want to do this until they're done acquiring their positions. And then when they're ready, they'll let the FOMO out on the rest of the world. So my goal here is to try to get some people to get in before the FOMO kicks in. Their job right now is to create fear, uncertainty, and doubt to suppress the value. The next thing is really important. Don't let the psychological barrier of saying, well, I can't buy a full Bitcoin, so what's the point, stop you from creating a plan to accumulate Bitcoin slowly but surely. It's no different than investing in a 401k or putting money in a savings account. You make a plan and you stick to it. $100, $50, $25, whatever it is, per week, bi-weekly, monthly. Slow and steady wins the race. If you start acquiring now, you're ahead of so many other people. We're still early in the game. You have a chance now to acquire before the masses do. So if you have a little extra cash right now laying around in a savings account or a checkings account giving you next to nothing in interest rates, consider putting some of it into Bitcoin. consider putting it to work in a different asset that lets you hedge your bet. Like I said, we're still super early in this thing. When you consider the cell phone or internet, it took time before it was readily adopted. Even if you look at Uber or Airbnb, everyone said, why do we need Uber? We have taxi cabs. Everyone said, why do we need Airbnb? We have hotels. That's the early part of the adoption curve. Be a part of it. Don't believe me? Take a look at this chart. You can see that we just barely got started. We're not even at the steepest part of the curve, and we're already at 60K for Bitcoin. Imagine what happens when it gets to the steep part. Can you imagine how fast it's going to go up and how much people are going to say, oh my God, I never saw this coming? Don't be one of those people. Be in before it happens. Reason number 2, Bitcoin has been the best performing asset over the last 10 years, hands down by almost 1,000%. Take a look at this chart, pause it here, and look at all the different assets that it's comparing, and you tell me what's done better than Bitcoin. $100 in Bitcoin 10 years ago versus $100 in gold 10 years ago, see what happens. I guarantee you would be retired if you put $100 into Bitcoin 10 years ago. I'm not one of those people. I got in pretty late in the game, and I still feel like I got in early. Reason number 3, everyone needs to diversify their portfolio. And cryptocurrency is a hedge against all the traditional systems today that I think are broken and rigged. Everything that has ever existed in humanity has eventually been disrupted by a better technological option. And do you think that money and gold and all the other things that currently exist are any different? Or do you think that there's something on the way that's going to do better than what's currently being done today? I personally think that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is that solution. And so, if you believe in that narrative as I do, then you can see this as the next technological revolution. Just like the internet was, just like combustion cars were, just like farming was, just like anything else that has happened in history. There's a chance right now to do something that hasn't been done before. Don't be late to this party. Reason number 4. I don't care what the media or the government tells you, inflation is real in the real economy. I don't care what they tell you in the financial economy. In the real economy, inflation is here. Don't believe me? Go look at the prices of groceries, or price of a used car, or prescription drugs, or housing, or lumber, or quite honestly, any other type of rare material that's used for development. I guarantee you the cost of doing business is more expensive today. And it will continue to go up as we see the impact of the crazy amounts of printing that we've seen being done by the US government. Reason number 5. I'm a bit embarrassed to say this one, but it's probably the best one for me to use when I'm talking to people that don't believe me, because I'm just a normal, random Joe. I don't know anything, right? But if it's good enough for companies like Tesla, Square, PayPal, MicroStrategy, Bank of New York Mellon, Mass Mutual, the endowments of Harvard, Yale, and Brown to invest in it as an asset, then I think it's good enough for me. And I guarantee you in the next 6 months, you're going to see other major corporations announce that they have Bitcoin on their balance sheet as well. It's way better than holding cash. And quite honestly, it's going to do better in terms of revenue generation for a lot of these companies than they would doing their own business. And let's not forget to mention companies like Microsoft, Twitch, Expedia, and Shopify, among others, allowing for the payment of products using Bitcoin. Adoption's picking up speed. Nothing happens overnight, and these organizations are just the tip of the iceberg of what's to come. And so the narrative that it's not adopted is kind of false, and I think it's short-sighted and lazy by the people writing those articles. And finally, when you look at companies like Tesla, WeWork, and Time Magazine accepting Bitcoin as payment but not converting it to cash, believing it on their balance sheet as Bitcoin, to me speaks magnitudes about their ability to see the financial opportunity in the future if they leave those assets alone to accrue value over time. I mean, the reality is there are so many other reasons why I'm ultra bullish on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, DeFi, NFT, and that whole technological space in general, in the short term and in the long term. I think Bitcoin is the most durable, fungible, secure, fast, divisible, globally connected, and most importantly, decentralized asset that's out there. It's the future of the global financial system in terms of asset preservation. And over the next 10 years, we will see the steepest part of the adoption curve take place. And until the year 2140, it'll continue to gain value and maintain its value over that time, leaving many people to wonder and say, I wish I invested in it sooner, or even worse, I wish I invested in it at all. So my suggestion for you is to take a weekend and go down the rabbit hole of exploring the opportunity of Bitcoin for you, your family, your loved ones, and your friends, and see if it's worth setting aside a small amount of money to invest in it, to diversify and hedge your portfolio. If you're a sound investor, you need to find contingency plans to make sure that your money is safe and you're preserving wealth for you and your loved ones. Like I said, it's still early in the baseball game. We're just getting started and there's plenty of time. And I'm going to end it here again by saying this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for many of us millennials that have been shit on year over year, whether it's coming out in the financial market crisis of 2008, whether it was a dot-com bubble where our families lost jobs, whatever you want to call it, we've been getting crapped on for the last 25 years. This is a chance for you to flip the script. Okay, if you like this video, I truly appreciate it if you'd hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment and tell me about another topic you'd like for me to explore. Again, my name is Adam, and thanks for hanging out with me on Adam Theory. Stay curious, ask questions, and build your own theory. Take care.